What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? This is Jose Ortiz from PetRockMedia.com, and today I wanted to go over my overall impressions and thoughts of today's Apple event on March the 21st, 2016. So, through various leaks and things like that, we were kind of already under the impression that they were going to be releasing a new iPad and a new iPhone. Now, we really didn't know which iPhones they were going to release, but there had been talks about them releasing a smaller version and a smaller iPad Pro. Now, once the keynote started, you kind of saw the progression they were going. They kind of started talking about the encryption issue that had been going on. So Tim Cook came out and kind of talked about how he feels that Apple's rights, or Apple has holds a key part in this debate as far as keeping your devices encrypted and keeping your information secure. So he kind of thanked everybody for supporting him and whatnot. Then they moved on to environmental, like Apple always does. Apple is huge in the environmental area, and they are very proud of the fact that all their devices are economically recyclable and things like that. Then they move on and talk about healthcare and things like that. So about 30, 45 minutes of where the company is, things like that, the encryption issue, and so forth. Then they move on and they start talking about Apple Watch. They didn't release a new Apple Watch. They did reduce the price. If you can see, here's mine right here. They did reduce the price to $299. And then they also introduced a few new watch bands. They introduced a stainless steel black Milanese loop. They released a few new colors of the sports bands, and then they also released a new a woven nylon band. The nylon bands look pretty cool. I kind of like the way those look. Nothing too special. It's something that you could have been receiving already through a third-party vendor, but Apple has now released some new Apple band watches for your Apple Watch. Then they move into the iPhone, and there had been talks, as I mentioned, about releasing a much smaller iPhone. They hadn't been really going toward the 4-inch model after the iPhone 6 and 6S Plus, or I'm sorry, the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus. Then they went to the 6S and 6S Plus, which is what I have with me. This is the phone that I use. This is my daily driver here. It's the 6S Plus. I love this thing. But what they were talking about in the keynote was that people had been talking about wanting a smaller iPhone. The 6 and the 6S was still just a little bit too big. And then obviously the Plus is really, 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 really big. So people had been saying that they wanted a smaller phone. So they took almost the same form factor as the 5 and 5S and the 5SC and released the iPhone SE. Okay, now it comes in normal colors. It comes in gold, silver, black, and then also rose gold. Now they do pack a much faster processor. They pack the A9 chip, 12 megapixel iSight camera. It is a 4-inch Retina display. As I mentioned, it's a little bit more powerful, actually a whole lot more powerful than the 5S in comparison. It's up there with the 6 and 6S, not the Plus, but the regular 6 and 6S as far as speed, LTE speeds. It shoots 4K. It supports live photos. I did not hear anything about Force Touch, so I'm not really sure if it takes advantage of that particular technology. Of course, the thumbprint scanner comes with Apple Pay. Has increased Wi-Fi connectivity with AC connectivity, and of course, it has Siri. And that's really all that was updated on the phone. I'm not sorry, updated. That's really all that they provided to us with the keynote. Now, pricing is interesting. They still kept the 16 gigabyte iPhone, which now starts at $399 without a contract. So if you wanted to buy an Apple iPhone SE, which again, pre-orders do start the 24th, which is this Thursday, without a contract, it is just $399, which might appeal to some individuals, especially parents, or at least what I'm looking at as a parent is possibly this kind of phone for my daughter who's been begging for one. So $399 out of pocket, no contract required. Of course, if you have a contract or a provider carrier that offers the 2-year contract and provides you with a rebate, then this phone is essentially free. But again, with no contract, $399 is a pretty decent price. What I don't like is that they still stick with the 16 gigabytes, and then after that, it jumps up to 64 gigabytes. I did not see a mention of a 128, possibly because of the size. Not really sure, but again, it's offered at 16 gigabytes and then at 64 gigabytes. Again, the colors are silver, gold, space gray, and rose gold. I see rose gold being a hot color, so that will be something that if you're interested in, you might want to start pre-ordering on the 24th when those become available. And then they moved into the iPad Pro discussion. iPad Pro obviously was launched last fall, and to a lot of critics saying it's just a much larger iPad. Of course, I did the mobile photography video that shows my workflow with an iPad Pro, which I still use to this day, and it is amazing. If you want to check that video out, please do so. It's an amazing, amazing tablet. Not really 100% a laptop replacement, but for particular workflows, it does work for me, particularly as a professional photographer. Now, with this new iPad Pro, which takes advantage of the 9.7-inch diagonally, it's essentially an iPad Air on steroids, if you will. They just branded it with the iPad Pro line. Of course, it brings over everything from the larger iPad Pro. It has the incredible sound. It has a little bit less screen resolution. The screen resolution here on my notes is 2048 by 1536, whereas the iPad Pro has 2732 by 2048. That screen is amazing. Again, if you haven't seen the large iPad Pro, the screen is awesome. They did talk about what they're including with the new iOS that's coming out, which again, I'm sorry I didn't mention that, but the iOS 9.3 was made available today and it's rolling out. I just got the update on my phone right now, so I'll probably be updating here in the next couple of hours. But one thing that the new iOS did come through with was the changing of the color gamuts for night mode. And I believe they call it night shift mode. And what that does is allow for you to have lesser of a blue color. They talked about how there's research that shows that a large exposure to blue tint helps you not sleep at night, and having a much warmer, a warmer color allows you to feel a little bit more relaxed and allows you to sleep better. So what it does is it utilizes your geolocation along with the time and whatnot. And as it's getting darker outside, the color of the iPad will shift, and it's pretty cool technology. I've never really been that impacted by that. Usually my phone is kept away from me, so once I go to bed, I completely disconnect. I don't have any of my phones and stuff right next to me. But that's kind of cool that it offers that. Again, it offers the 4 speakers that change as you tilt and shift the iPad. It sports the A9X chip, 10 hours of battery life. It does work with the pencil. I don't have the pencil with me, but here's the box right here. So it does work with the Apple Pencil. It does offer better graphics than obviously the iPad Air and whatnot. Multitasking. They did release a special iPad Pro keyboard that specifically is for the smaller iPad. And let's see, it's offered in gold and whatnot. It is smaller, obviously thinner. It weighs less than a pound, whereas the iPad Pro weighs about 1.5 pounds. The iPad Pro is 6.9 millimeters thin, whereas the new iPad Pro 9.7 inch is 6.1 millimeters thin, so a little bit thinner. It does offer LTE speeds on there, Touch ID as well. It's going to come with iOS 9. So all those cool things that the new iPad Pro will offer. Will I be getting one? Probably not. I'm pretty set on my current iPad Pro. I no longer have any of the Airs. I actually traded in my old iPad Air to get the iPad Pro. And I also have an iPad Mini. They didn't talk about anything about the Mini, just that the price went down to $269 for the iPad Mini. I'm not sure if that's the 2, 3, or 4, the 2 or the 4, since they got rid of the 3 and just went straight to the 4, but also offered the iPad 2. So I have to do a little research on that to see what those prices are. But I'm assuming that's going to start with the iPad 2 and then work its way up in price. One of the big stories, in my opinion, was that for the iPads, uh, they started now offering, and in the new current iPad Pro, the 12.9-inch model, 256 gigabytes of storage. So for myself, being a professional photographer and hobbyist and landscape and whatnot, even though my files are not incredibly large, given that I primarily shoot with Fuji, and I haven't picked up or not really going to plan on picking up the new X Pro 2, I shoot with the XT1 or the X100T. My files average about 30 to 40 megabytes, sometimes maybe a little bit lower. And then, of course, my JPEGs is what the iPad uses since it doesn't support RAW at the moment. So my file sizes are not incredibly large, but still, 256 gigabytes on an iPad now brings me up to speed with my Surface Pro 4, which is what I'm using to record and edit all this footage on. So that will be good for video, in my opinion. Now, if they're only able to start taking external peripherals and external components like my Logitech C920 webcam that I'm using to record this, or perhaps my Blue Yeti, I know they talk about being able to utilize external microphones, and they brought that up in the keynote. However, just utilizing the microphone is one part of my overall vlogging style and video podcasting. I still need to want, or I still have the want and need for a little bit higher grade camera. So if that slowly starts going towards that, and if the iPad Pro truly starts taking on a true laptop replacement, then I can see myself utilizing that. But as it stands now, when I grab my daily bag, the 99% of the time, if it's something that I'm going to be utilizing for productivity, I'm going to be taking the Surface Pro 4 with me. And that says a lot since I am a huge Apple fan and primarily had always been utilizing Apple. However, my 15-inch MacBook Pro, which sits over here, is my main editing machine. That laptop is a beast and it's heavy. So carrying that around, running and gunning, shooting photos, the Surface Pro 4 is a lot lighter for me to just take that with me and then just pull out the camera, shoot, put it back, go. Hopefully the iPad Pro can get there. Hopefully they keep along with the 12.9-inch model and the 9.7-inch and bring them along concurrently and not leave one behind, so that way, you're having to choose which one. Chances are I might get the new one now that I'm thinking about the 9.7-inch. Who knows? That would mean I would have a mini, a 9.7, and then a 12.9. I'm not really 100% sure, but as it stands today, I'm probably not going to get one unless I trade in some type of device to upgrade to that. But again, I just wanted to give you guys my overall impressions of today's keynote. It was an awesome keynote. It was a little sad because it was going to be the last keynote there in the theater. Tim Cook did talk about next year being in the new spaceship campus and kind of showed what it's going to look like at the theater there. So it was a little sad. He kind of talked about how the App Store was introduced at that theater as well as the iPod. So it was a little sad to hear those things. But again, they will be hopefully at their new campus by this time next year, and they'll be having a bunch of new keynotes there too. So again, guys, this is Jose Ortiz from Pet Rock Media. Just wanted to give you a quick overview and a quick glimpse and my overall first impressions and thoughts of the Apple keynote today. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button down there. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I welcome all critics and all criticism. Once again, guys, this is Jose Ortiz, PetRockMedia.com, signing out. Peace.